You've probably seen it. Someone defending the indefensible, a politician caught in a blatant lie, yet their followers double down. A celebrity makes a tone-deaf statement, and instead of backlash, they get praised. A bizarre conspiracy theory spreads online like wildfire, and suddenly it's just another perspective. And you start to wonder, how can someone be so wrong and yet so sure? This isn't just ignorance. It's something deeper, a sickness beneath the surface, a collapse not of intelligence, but of independent thinking. In a world overflowing with information, we are starving for truth. And instead of using our minds to cut through the noise, we run to the nearest tribe, political, ideological, digital, and beg to belong. We don't ask, is this true? We ask, do my people believe this? And that's where stupidity begins. We weren't always like this. Our ancestors were tribal for survival. They needed the group to hunt, to defend, to stay alive. But now, that ancient instinct has evolved into something dangerous. We cling to identity over reality. Psychologists call this social identity theory, the idea that your self-worth is tied to the group you belong to. If your group is praised, you feel proud. If it's attacked, you feel attacked. So what do? You defend it. Not because it's right, but because it's yours. Disagreement becomes betrayal. Nuance becomes weakness. Truth becomes whatever your tribe says it is. Ever noticed how people don't just argue with opposing views anymore? They rage at them? Why? Because tribalism gives you clarity without effort. It tells you who the enemy is, what to hate, what to believe, and who to cancel. It feels righteous. It feels easy. But it's also incredibly lazy. Because thinking, real thinking, is hard. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to sit with contradictions, to doubt, to admit you might be wrong. And in a world where everyone's yelling, silence can feel like surrender. So most people choose the noise. Just like in George Orwell's 1984. Every day, citizens perform the ritual of the 2 minutes hate. They scream at the enemies of the state, praise Big Brother, and dissolve into a sea of shared fury. No one reflects. No one questions. They just conform, perfectly, passionately, obediently, because deviation is dangerous. Thinking for yourself becomes a crime against the group. And this is the real epidemic. We haven't gotten dumber. We've just outsourced our minds. We've stopped thinking in order to keep belonging. And slowly, almost silently, independent thought, the foundation of any free society, is dying. Think about this. When was the last time you changed your mind about something important? Not because someone shouted louder, but because you actually sat down, looked at the facts, and realized you were wrong? If that moment feels distant, you're not alone. But maybe it's time we bring that part of ourselves back. Let's face it, we are no longer just passive consumers of information. We are the product. Our thoughts, our emotions, even our attention spans, are all being sold. In the age of social media, your mind is a battlefield, and you don't even realize you're at war. The platforms you scroll every day, they weren't built to help you think clearly. They were built to keep you scrolling endlessly. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, each one is powered by algorithms designed to hijack your brain's reward system. And guess what works best? Outrage, simplicity, repetition, not nuance, not facts. Why spend 5 minutes thinking about a complex issue when a 5-second clip can give you the illusion of understanding? The more emotionally triggered you are, the more you engage. The more you engage, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more money these platforms make. It's not just content anymore. It's a behavioral drug. Think of your feed like a mirror, but it doesn't reflect reality. It reflects you, your fears, your desires, your prejudices. And the more you look into it, the more distorted you become. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias, the tendency to prefer information that confirms what we already believe. In an ideal world, we would seek out opposing views. But in a profit-driven one, your feed becomes a digital cocoon, insulating you from complexity. You're no longer thinking. You're reacting. It's what philosopher Neil Postman warned about decades ago. He said the greatest danger to truth isn't censorship. It's distraction. And now, we're not burning books. We're drowning them in a sea of memes, sound bites, and dopamine. Even intelligence itself is outsourced. Why think when you can Google? Why reflect when you can scroll? We've become passive passengers in the vehicle of thought. Nudged, poked, manipulated, not by force, but but by design. So the next time you feel confident about something you just know, ask yourself, did you really come to that conclusion? Or was it chosen for you by a machine? Because in this system, stupidity isn't a glitch. It's the business model. You've probably noticed this in everyday life. The loudest person in the room isn't always the smartest. In fact, quite often, they're the most dangerously misinformed. This isn't a coincidence. It's a phenomenon psychologists call the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias where people with the least competence in a topic are also the most confident about it. Why? Because ignorance isn't just a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of awareness that you're missing knowledge. You don't know what you don't know. This creates a dangerous illusion, the illusion of certainty. In the past, being wrong in private meant embarrassment. Now, you can be wrong online and go viral. The internet doesn't reward truth, it rewards confidence. And confidence, even when backed by nothing, sells. That's why social media is full of hot takes, half-truths, and wild theories shouted with absolute conviction. It's not just annoying, it's destructive. Because in this warped attention economy, the boldest lies often drown out the quiet truths. Experts, who speak in nuance and hesitation, are quickly overlooked. Meanwhile, people who say, "Trust me, I know," without showing any evidence, gain thousands of followers. This isn't just a digital problem. It spills into the real world. We elect leaders based on charisma, not competence. We follow influencers because they seem confident, not because they're informed. In classrooms, in boardrooms, in governments, we confuse volume with value. This is the heart of a global problem, the collapse of intellectual humility. In a healthy society, smart people doubt themselves, ask questions, listen. But now, hesitation is seen as weakness, and overconfidence, it's mistaken for leadership. We are building a world where the most certain people win, even when they're wrong. As Bertrand Russell once said, "The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt." So ask yourself, when was the last time you said, "I don't know"? Because in a world drowning in fake certainty, humble ignorance might just be the wisest answer. Have you ever realized someone you trusted was confidently wrong? What helped you see through it? The most dangerous lie isn't the one you hear once. It's the one you hear so often that it starts to feel true. We're no longer just exposed to misinformation. We're immersed in it, surrounded, overstimulated, numb. In this state, lies don't need to be subtle. They just need to be loud, repeated, emotional. And if something feels true, that's now enough. Welcome to the post-truth era. This is no longer a world where truth is based on evidence. It's based on emotion, on what gets the most shares, clicks, or outrage. We're witnessing the decay of society's cognitive immune system. Just like our bodies can be weakened by viruses, our minds are now weakened by constant exposure to mental junk food. Clickbait headlines, echo chambers, outrage cycles. We stop filtering. We stop verifying. We stop thinking. And when that happens, lies don't just survive, they thrive. Let's take one real-world example, the anti-vaccine movement. Despite overwhelming evidence from scientists around the world, millions have come to believe that vaccines are dangerous, not because the science changed, but because repetition changed perception. And this pattern doesn't stop there. Misinformation erodes trust in institutions. It tears down our shared reality. It creates a population where everyone has their own version of the truth, and no one is willing to listen. We stop talking. We stop learning. We just scream across digital walls, waiting for someone to echo back what we already believe. In that silence, reason dies. So what can we do? First, we must recognize that thinking clearly is no longer just an intellectual habit. It's a form of resistance. Second, we must learn to slow down. Pause before sharing. Pause before reacting. Ask, is this true? Is it helpful? Am I sure? And third, perhaps most importantly, we need to reclaim our right to be uncertain. To say, "I don't know," in a world full of false certainty is not weakness. It's a radical act of strength. Because in this world where misinformation is the new default, truth begins with humility. So no, the world isn't getting dumber because people are born less intelligent. It's because we've stopped using the intelligence we already have. We've chosen comfort over curiosity, emotion over evidence. and belonging over truth. But here's the hope. Stupidity spreads fast, but so does awareness. The moment you choose to think critically, to question what you're told, to admit what you don't know, you've already broken the cycle. The antidote to this epidemic isn't more outrage. It's reflection. It's humility. It's the courage to stay awake while everyone else is sleepwalking. So now I want to hear from you. When was a time you realized you had fallen for a popular but false belief? What opened your eyes? Let's bring some real thought back into the conversation. Drop your story in the comments. And if this video made you pause and reflect, give it a like, share it, and consider subscribing for more content that makes you think. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more minds that dare to think.